The screen flashes with an old CNBC clip. Carl Icahn leans forward and declares with absolute certainty, "I make money because I'm right." It's a bold statement, the kind that demands attention. But the real question that lingers in the air is he truly Wall Street's boldest genius or its ultimate villain? Today, we dive deep into the life and legacy of Carl Icahn, a man who has shaken boardrooms, built and destroyed fortunes, and left an undeniable mark on corporate America. From fierce airline wars in the 1980s to billion-dollar battles with tech giants, Icahn's story is one of ambition, controversy, and a relentless pursuit of power. Stick around because whether you admire him or despise him, there's no denying that Carl Icahn changed the game. And the cost of that change is something we're about to uncover. The rise of Carl Icahn. Carl Icahn's story begins far from the boardrooms of Wall Street. Born in 1936 in Queens, New York, to a schoolteacher mother and a cantor father, Icahn's early life was humble. Raised in a modest apartment and attending public schools, he showed little sign of the billionaire he would become. But ambition burned quietly within him. After studying philosophy at Princeton and dabbling in medicine at NYU before dropping out, Icahn found his true calling, the stock market. In 1961, he got his start as a stockbroker, quickly realizing that real power and real money came from not just buying and selling stocks, but from controlling the companies themselves. By the late 1970s, Icahn had developed a strategy that would become his trademark: find undervalued companies, acquire a significant stake, then aggressively push management to make changes that would boost the stock price. Sometimes this meant cutting costs, selling off divisions, or pushing for mergers and acquisitions. His most famous early move came in the 1980s with the takeover of Trans World Airlines, TWA. Icahn engineered a hostile takeover, loaded the company with debt, stripped it of valuable assets, and made a hefty personal profit. For many, it was a textbook case of asset stripping, gutting a company for personal gain while leaving employees and long-term health behind. It was also the moment Carl Icahn cemented his reputation as a corporate raider, a new breed of Wall Street operator who used sheer financial force to bend companies to his will. Whether you saw him as a hero for shareholders or a villain destroying once proud companies depended largely on which side of the boardroom table you sat. Icahn's biggest wins and power plays. While his TWA takeover marked his arrival, it was Carl Icahn's later moves that demonstrated just how much influence he could wield over corporate America. One of his most iconic victories came against none other than Apple. In the early 2010s, Icahn took a massive stake in the tech giant and began loudly campaigning for Apple to return more cash to shareholders. Through a combination of open letters, media interviews, and relentless pressure, Icahn pushed Apple to initiate a $100 billion stock buyback program. It was a colossal move that rewarded investors and further solidified Apple's dominance in the market. While Icahn eventually sold his stake, many credit his activism with making Apple a more shareholder-friendly company, at least for a time. Netflix was another feather in Icahn's cap. In 2012, he bought a significant stake in the then-struggling streaming service when its future was anything but certain. True to form, Icahn advocated for Netflix to sell itself to a larger tech company, arguing that it couldn't survive alone. Although Netflix ultimately chose to remain independent, Icahn's investment paid off handsomely. He exited with massive profits, timing his sell-off just before significant market volatility hit the tech sector. Icahn's strategy was clear and brutally effective. Buy a large position, demand changes that could unlock value, create a media frenzy, and then cash out once the stock soared. It was activism mixed with old-school rating tactics, adapted perfectly for the modern market. Time and again, Icahn proved he had a knack not just for identifying undervalued companies, but for forcing them, often unwillingly, to realize their full potential. Controversies, criticism, and the 2023 meltdown. While Carl Icahn's successes made him a legend, his aggressive tactics also earned him heavy criticism. Many analysts and company executives accused Icahn of focusing solely on short-term gains at the expense of long-term company health. Critics argued that while shareholders often benefited quickly from Icahn's involvement, the companies themselves were left hollowed out, burdened with debt, or stripped of valuable assets. This tension fed into the ongoing debate. Was Icahn truly an activist investor working to improve companies, or simply a corporate raider, profiting while others paid the price? Over the years, Icahn's activities attracted the attention of regulators as well. There were several hints of SEC probes, particularly surrounding the timing of his market moves and the tactics he employed to influence stock prices. However, none of these investigations seemed to slow him down until 2023. That year, Icahn Enterprises, the crown jewel of his empire, became the target of shocking fraud allegations. A scathing report accused Icahn of overstating the value of his assets and using inflated valuations to maintain high dividend payments to investors. The report likened Icahn Enterprises to a Ponzi-like structure, suggesting that the firm was dangerously over-leveraged and misleading investors about its true financial health. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Icahn Enterprises stock plummeted by 50% in a matter of weeks, erasing billions of dollars from Carl Icahn's personal fortune almost overnight. For a man who had long portrayed himself as Wall Street's smartest operator, the allegations and subsequent collapse were a devastating blow to his credibility. Public perception shifted dramatically. Once hailed as a financial wizard, Icahn was now painted by some as a reckless gambler who may have finally pushed his luck too far. Memes flooded the internet, financial commentators openly questioned his legacy, and some even wondered if this marked the end of an era for activist investing as a whole. Current status still dangerous? Despite the 2023 meltdown, Carl Icahn remains a force in the market. Even with a bruised reputation, he continues to make strategic investments and wield influence over corporate decisions. His mere involvement in a stock is enough to send prices soaring or crashing, depending on how the market interprets his intentions. Companies still take notice when Icahn starts buying shares, wary of the activist battles that could follow. Meanwhile, on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, reactions are mixed. Some users post memes mocking his downfall, while others warn that underestimating Icahn is a mistake seasoned investors know better than to make. Praise, mockery, and cautious respect swirl around his name. The question lingers. Is Carl Icahn still one of Wall Street's most dangerous players, or is he a fading titan desperately clinging to past glories? Conclusion: genius or villain? In the end, Carl Icahn's story defies easy categorization. He is undeniably one of the most influential investors in modern history, reshaping corporate governance and putting pressure on complacent management teams. Yet the damage left behind by some of his campaigns cannot be ignored. Is he an architect of shareholder value or a destructive raider? Perhaps he is both. His legacy, like the man himself, is complex and controversial. What do you think? Is Carl Icahn a visionary reshaping Wall Street, or a villain whose ruthless tactics left more harm than good? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more finance exposés.